Well, I know Dev and Mandy are ready and waiting to dive into the spicy matchup. Take it away.
Thank you, guys. And phenomenal desk. Honestly, top tier analysis from that lot.
Very good. Always we get the best from those two, don't we?
We certainly do. And we also get the best when we've got teams like G2 and Spacestation, both organizations that have raised the SI trophy for G2 just 2 months ago. And for SSG, a redemption, a chance at showing us what this brand new roster has got to show.
This is such an exciting one. I can't wait to go to Bank. I feel like we haven't seen a whole lot of Bank this entire major. It's one of my favorite maps. I don't know about you, but I love seeing it here on the major stage in Tier 1 Siege. I just can't wait to get right into it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Mandy. Bank should be a great battlefield. As the guys already said on the desk, I think it was Anne mentioned the 6 Karma game SSG already played.
The game hasn't even started yet.
No, Carl, he's unstoppable, this man. Alamau. Energy is something that G2 very rarely lack, and it's mostly due to that hype man. Even chucking the question mark in chat. And SSG are just refusing to engage.
They're not even like acknowledging his presence. They're probably like, look at this dude.
G2 have been something else with this new roster, right? As Veracity mentioned, Benja, reasonably new pickup just before SI. But this is a real collection of characters. A bit of a collection of egos, but a serious confluence of characters. You've watched a lot of EUL. I know you've been degenning it late nights.
Yeah, all right. You don't have to call me out like that. Like,
but you would have seen the game where I can't remember, I think they were playing against, was it Heroic or Secret? And they like full AFK'd through the entire prep phase and the start of the action phase.
Oh, God.
BMing, and they won that game like 7-0, 7-1, something like that. That's G2 in a nutshell.
Don't remind me, don't remind me. SSG, though, these guys are cool as a cucumber pre-game starting. They haven't even acknowledged G2 in the old chat. There's no banter. They're not screaming back at them. They're just letting Alamau run to his own devices in the comms. Now we're starting out down in the basement. As the match plays out, SSG starting out on defense.
Yeah, a great point that you make about the energy, right? SSG just shutting out G2, shutting out the energy from Alamau, just refusing to engage. I think it's the right move, honestly. Yeah. And this isn't a roster full of rookies, right? Like SSG might be a brand new team with only Hot and Cold and Fultz from the roster that played at 6 Invitational. But you got J90 and Forrest, both of whom came from that Astralis roster that almost won a major a year ago. And Merc, who himself was a 6 Invitational last year in 2022 on TSM. So this is a star-studded roster. They know how to keep cool under pressure.
There's no doubt on the 5 players of this roster. They're all experienced. They've all been here before. They've all been around the block. They know the ropes, but will they work as a man of 5? Early info here for Fultz is going to enable Forrest to get a spawn peek onto Benjamaster, the first pick of the series, going in the way of SSG.
I really like that. Getting on the right front foot for SSG. Great read, and of course, using the roaming yokai drones from Fultz to enable these roamers. It's a strategy we've seen a lot from, honestly, European teams like Koi come to mind. I think they were the ones that really brought it back into the meta with DPEC back around the time of the Berlin Major last year. Have your smoke go for a nice early roam, get a nice early pick, it's great, but here, talk about early presence. Doki just teasing out the bottom of main stairs with a nade. But good progress here from G2. Hatches nicely open.
Yeah, well, honestly, I think this is really quick progress from G2. There's a full 2 minutes left on the clock. All of them are inside the building bar Benja, who's died early. All the hatches are open. 1:40 left. That's plenty of time for them to burn out the remaining utility of SSG. Now, there is quite a lot of it, keep in mind, right? You've got all your go canisters, 3 smoke babes, and 2 C4s to try and deal with if you want to play the objective. It's going to be up to G2 to decide, do they have the time to burn out all of that, or are they going to go for a flood and go deep and look for kills?
Yeah, I want to know what Alamau's gotten up to. Here we see his Twitch drone now, and he's already cleared at least one of those Vulcan canisters. How many remain still at large? He's hunting now for the yokai drones, as we spotted one hiding under the desk. And I think Doki intended to go and chuck a nade at it, but I think Alamau might have found it with the Twitch drone beforehand anyway. Now just scouting out for what other information there might be, but the first C4 has been baited.
Very nice from G2 so far, making great progress in this late round as the time starts to tick down. With 50 seconds left to go, Forrest can chuck out his final smoke, babe, and like you said, one C4 burnt, the only one left in the hands of J90.
Yeah. Heard an ADS ring on out. What was that catching? Perhaps a stun, perhaps a smoke. No, still two smokes in pocket. But Merc, he's found an opportunity now, taken down Virtue. Doki to find one of his own as Blur looks to reattempt that plant, but the cover is perfect. And SSG just overwhelmed the site. Nice attempt there from G2, but it was not to be.
Really good work there from SSG in the end. They realized that they had burnt all of their plant denial utility, and they realized that they had to retake further up towards the bomb site. So as that plant reattempt went down a few times over, all of them re-aggressed over and took the fights onto the hatches, jumped their way in through the rotate, and as the numbers dwindled down for G2, SSG were able to overwhelm the site and make the retake work.
Great round there from SSG. It was a bit sketchy once that plant denial utility had been taken out, but yeah, I mean, like you said, they pushed together and they made it work. It's a good start now for the Americans. And while we're talking about where SSG come from, fun fact for you, I told you this before we went live, but SSG are the only team that is all American. All 5 players are American. They don't have any Canadians, no Brazilians, no Swedish players. Not like all these other North American teams that need to import talent. These guys have faith that the American way is the way.
Wow, gosh. So you're saying the rest of the region...
Look, I was going to make a joke about NA, but to be fair, they've already won 2 games today,
okay,
so you really can't have much of a go.
Okay. We're not going to war with an entire region. That is a wise decision. Unfortunately for Doki, being taken down by Forrest early isn't the most advised decision for him. Trying to sneak his way in through dirt to get early control of the basement. Unfortunately shut down. Forrest now 3 to his name, having a good game so far as the rest of G2 shape to try and take the bottom of square.
Yeah, that's a really good start. And 2 rounds in a row that Forrest has found the opener. The Monty has been teased out. Its position made aware. And Hot and Cold is just looking to shut it out using this keeper barrier. He's about to lose his main keeper barrier that he was hoping would protect him from that long line of sight. He's really feeling this pressure now, and he might ask his teammates to come and support him.
Ooh, a Banshee is actually going to keep Alamau at bay here with the Monty, as it's going to be a little awkward to actually entry the site from here on out. The line of sight, though, does really cut the bomb site straight in half, as an attacker can sit there and hold it down, as their defenders will no longer be able to cross out from the small box. Blur has some info on the player on the top blue. Free fight through, but the P10 Ronia Fox is too good. Headshot to the face, takes him down. Alamau now in a duel with Hot and Cold on the other side near the bomb site, can at least trade one back.
Desperate is G2. They desperately needed that pick. At least they did find it. And now Benja's made some decent progress. He's gridlocked up the flank, and he's regrouping now with Alamau on the Montaigne, taking down that Malusi's Banshee as well. 2 players in the site now, as Virtue begins to drone them on up, giving that information now to Alamau, but Fultz is here. He's teasing out this roam. He's now smoked off, but he could peek it. It'd be a risk, but he could go for it. Hang on a second. Ben just got the read on Forrest, and that's a big pick. J90, though, has taken down the Montaigne, so this push is once again stunted for G2. Benja and Virtue need to go big. They need to find something a bit special, as the Dane makes his entry onto the site, holding down right click, can't find any shots to land. It's all up to the Aussie now. And Virtue is in an unenviable position. Feed holes expose his position. He's got across to get that diffuser, but even a couple of nice shots aren't likely to make this one work. And SSG just wait patiently.
Good work and composure there from SSG. G2 tried to look for a minimalist take here onto the bottom square, but to no avail as the retake came through from SSG up blue. That gunfight successful. Virtue can actually try to get the plant down and attempt with the final 10 seconds left of the round to go. Merc looking to deny the plant to success. SMG 11 in hand will claim the second round for SSG.
Yeah, very good start. I mean, honestly, I like the idea for G2 of that push, using that Montaigne, putting a lot of pressure directly on site, and then intending to use that gridlock to just cut off those flanks. Wow, what a shot there from Forest with an angle. I mean, it all started, started fairly poorly for G2, really. Not only did they lose that opening pick with the very cheeky angle there from Forest, but following that as well, the angle that Foltz managed to get, the kill Foltz managed to get on Blue Stairs, I mean, he really should not have got that. It was full information for Blur, he went for the pre-fire, and yet sometimes it's just a case of Roni diff.
It's the small things, you know, in the round. Sometimes the early round doesn't go your way, right? You lose the early pick, and then off the back of that, even though there was a lot of pressure coming out on the walls, the duel doesn't quite work when you chase the flank. It's just the small things that, unfortunately, were the downfall of G2 as the numbers advantage went away. It left Virtue in a 1-on-3. Sometimes those rounds happen. I don't think that they're going to be too phased by that one as we go up to the top floor.
5 seconds left before
you can see SSG are very, very ready for Bank. They've got some great strategies, some great little pocket ideas, some cheeky spawn peaks, and you know, in tandem with just great setups. We got the castle. I even saw the Wamai Hot and Cold opening up some holes to impact trick that Kanto wall. Great, pretty typical, but still very nice setup here in the hallway of stock with that shield. And G2, well, yet to find a round. Really need to get on their bike soon.
So I think the tough part about this setup is that there's both the Izami and a castle in play. So for G2 to be able to cut down on this bomb site, they need a lot of explosives, specifically ranged explosives. So we've got the Zofia in play for Virtue. We've also got 2 sets of nades on Doki and Benja, which can be a little bit finicky to try and take down the keeper barriers and castles and whatever, but it can be done. It just needs to go in the way of G2 as they play the utility game through the mid-round.
Well, there's only been 3 kills so far for G2 in the 2 rounds that we've had so far. And there we see the impact trick teased out. Hot and Cold's got an impact in pocket as well, but it looks like that Selma will be able to detonate. Doesn't matter, because Forest has plenty of keeper barriers to patch up those holes.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It's going to force Blur to use yet another one of his Selma charges to try and get this wall open. And then there's another keeper gate on the wall. So Forest is still very comfortable in his position inside of Elbow here. Will G2 actually give up on doing this lobby take, or are they going to keep persisting to try and get this wall open? That's the question that I'm asking of them.
Yeah, wow, it's so risky, isn't it? And finally, the final Selma goes out. But guess what? Azami's there once again. Forest even has another keeper barrier, which he rattles on out. 2 players on these windows, though, for G2. If Benja finds an opportunity, G2 might be in business.
Yeah, but SSG look really safe in their current setup. Okay, I lied. In Capital, Fire is going to flush out the position of Foltz, which will enable Alamau to get a kill, but not before being traded by J90. He swings in fact, able to use these lines of sight against the defense of G2 and can attempt to plant.
Okay, we do have something here after all, as Virtue's managed to open up that line of sight, and Alamau's forcing down the plant. Merc's got to have a big impact, but the plant has been denied. SSG don't have to move now. As G2, the onus on them. That diffuser still cold in the ground on site. Merc doesn't need to over-aggress here. While there is a man advantage for G2, they need to regroup, they need to reposition. Virtue's made his way back towards the site now, and he can regroup with his team. But he and Benja together will have to take Janitor Closet as Merc is holding on. He's pulling back, but Virtue is about to make an entry. Hot and shuts him down. Looks for another one. Bit of damage. No kill yet. There it is. And the last player is on the rappel. Doki in the 1v2. Absolutely fruitless. A massive round from Hot and Cold. SSG are laughing right now.
Really great composure there from Hot and Cold to regress onto the positions inside of the bomb site. Realizing that the bomb was going down, he had to take necessary engagements onto the players on the rappel. Whoever had entered in through the bomb site, he needed to be there and inject himself into the late round that was happening for G2. And as a result, claims, I think it was 3 or 4 kills to his name in that attempt, supported by Merc, who was able to get his way back into Janitor as well. Just such great composure, knowing the win condition of the round from the remaining players of SSG closed it out.
Yeah, I got to say, there were quite a few twists and turns that round. I really thought at this point here, when Alamar finds the opening pick, when it's followed on for that nade from Doki, I thought that that round was over. G2 had it on lock, and as you said, Hot and Cold sprints through the site, denies the plant. There was one man that won that round for SSG, and it was Hot and Cold.
Really great stuff there. He knew exactly where the blind spot of the repels was, right? He just sprints straight through them, tucks himself into that little chamber part, and is able to deny the plant from there. Just such great game sense from Hot and Cold to be able to win out that round for SSG. We're going to go down for a reattempt here of the basement. Of course, previously won by SSG. Pretty similar fashion as well. They gave the bomb site to G2, allowed them to attempt the objective, but SSG were there for the immediate retake as the execute was going through it. We've seen that almost nearly 3 rounds in a row as well, as G2 keep trying to hit the bomb site but are unsuccessful.
I gotta say, I was very impressed with G2's first attack onto this bomb site. They looked very well drilled in terms of playing that plant denial game. We had Alamar's Twitch drones in sight, clearing out Vulcan canisters, looking for yokais. And I think that even though SSG won that round, they identified that they had to get a bit desperate. They had to make some plays, which was risky. And so this time they're leaning a little bit more into the roam than last time. We have the Solus and the Vigil, yet still the triple threat of the Echo Smoke and Goyo for that late round plant denial. So I think that this is a good move here from SSG.
Oh, but fast sector time set by Doki as he repels straight into CEO, rounding the corner now of Kanto. Might be able to collect the player on main stairs. Someone tucked away, prone on the stairwell. Whoever that might be is about to have bad times headed his way.
Oh. Drone doesn't go ahead and check the main stairs. Surely not. Merc, the little rat, he finds his man. And he retreats back to side as well. That is a huge dub there for SSG.
That is such a bit of a cheeky play to make, isn't it? Just be in an off position. It's sometimes not about having the craziest mechanical skill. It's not about going for your jiggle peaks, your Ferrari peaks, or your Red Bull peaks. Maybe we should be calling them that now. Anyway, sorry, I digress. That's a conversation for another day. But it's just about being in an off spot, throwing them off guard, right? And Merc plays that to perfection, falls off. This time, less time through the mid-round now for G2. Previously, by the time they got to the mid-round, there was like a full 2 minutes with all the hatches open. This time, only a minute 20, minute 30 left on the clock, so SSG doing a good job at denying the time.
Little spoiler for you guys, G2 have already called that at the end of this round they'll be taking a tactical timeout. I'm not sure what the protocol is, if Fabian has already called that, but we have confirmation from production that that is the case. Still, we must remain in the present, and there's a real chance that G2 can bring this back. Need to clear blue stairs, and it looks like that has been somewhat successful. Still, Forrest remains, and nade goes over and ends his life. So there is a way in for G2, but they need to start setting up for this plant as soon as possible.
Nice utility dump onto the player on blue stairs has enabled them control of server. Like you said, there is still some utility that they need to waste. 1 C4 in the hands of Hot and Cold, and still 2 active yokais in the hands of Fultz to deny this plan. The first attempt is going to come down from Blur, but will it be successful?
In comes the smoke shot out by Benja. That's a sharp shot. And as well, Blur takes down the yokai drone. Mandy, this is very real. Fultz now does have some plant denial, but it won't be forever as that yokai hits off 1 shot and G2 look to flood the side. Fultz must be protected inside of Garage, and he's going to continue trying to deny this plant. Hot and Gold might be able to bring it back. Moving in through red, he takes down 1 player before he is traded back. And I think G2 might have done it. They pulled the rabbit out of the hat. Fultz, 1 versus 3. I mean, he could try and revive Merc, but I just don't think that's going to happen. G2, oof, nasty shot there from Fultz. But Blur knows full well that he has won this round simply by getting that plant down. Fultz now trying to bait it, but G2 will not fall for that. This round is in the bag, and Blur's got that plant down. He's stuck it, and he's found a kill to follow.
Yeah, much quicker work there from G2 as they were able to get down to the bomb site a little bit quicker this time. Actually burn out the utility as there was, I think, just less of it in general from SSG. There wasn't any more smokes, for example. Yes, there were yokais, but the Goyos went off really early, for example. Just there was a lot more that went in the way of G2 to set them up for success as they went for the plant. Unfortunately, insufficient time wasted by the roamers. And unfortunately, yeah, just the rest of SSG couldn't hold the plant at bay.
Well, let's see what Fabian's saying in the tactical timeout.
We're letting ourselves down. We've gone through what they're doing, and they're doing exactly what they said. That's not going to change the attack. We're not going to time out the attack. That is for our defense. It doesn't matter. Because they're going to do exactly the same thing over and over and over.
Yeah, guys,
so listen to what
pretty
time
much wake up on early gamers. Wake up on early game. We're dying like for like nothing, you know. Like you can just take it slow, and if you take it slow, even.
Let's stop letting ourselves down and get this back on track, yeah? Let's fucking go, boys! Go do this!
Nice from Fabian. I think just reiterating that SSG they don't really change what they do. It seems to be the sentiment going into it. Just do what you can. We have a game plan going into it, and SSG have what they seem to believe is a pretty readable strat book. It seems like they seem to know the SSG formula, and it's just about sticking to the plan, playing what they know. Interesting approach here going against SSG.
Yeah, and Alamau also pointed out there that we're seeing time and time again G2 lose players early.
Yeah.
3 of the 4 rounds so far, in fact. G2's lost a player in like the first 30 seconds to a minute of the round to just a cheeky roamer or a cheeky angle from SSG. And credit to the defense, right? Credit to the SSG guys. They've been playing phenomenal games so far. But we know that Fabian, we know how impactful his tactical timeouts can be. Of course, the infamous shouting session at Six Invitational will go down in history and in everyone's memory, and no doubt in the memories of these 5 players that got absolutely rinsed by their coach for about a minute and then went on to bring back the game and win the tournament. So, look, I'm going to be honest, Mandy, I think it's been a rough game so far, but I would start to put a little bit more stake into G2 now they've had that tactical pause.
For sure. I think Alamau's point in particular that you pointed out about the early game is really valid. I think that, yeah, these guys have really been losing out early in the round just to the opening picks. Playing a little bit too quick. Oh, no. Once again, hot and cold, taking the first onto Alamau himself. So, biting his own words a little bit.
Yeah, he is going to be kicking himself after that one. But thankfully, G2 do get a trade. So credit to them, and I think they'll breathe a bit of a sigh of relief. They'll also say, look, it was just the Montaigne. It's fine. We can adapt our plan to work without him.
The thing for SSG, though, is that the Solus going down does mean that a lot of that mid-round info and adaptability has been taken away with that operator. Thankfully, they are able to push the man advantage in their favor, claiming a second pick still untraded as Benja can round the corner with False going for an aggressive peek. Successful now 3-on-3.
Yeah, wow. It's just look at that. Like 1 minute and 5 seconds into the round, and already 4 players in the server are dead, and we're at an even ingress with both teams having 3 left. Forrest is also up roaming, still trying to deny this entry. He's identified, SSG as a whole have identified that G2 just love repelling into CEO. They love establishing that first beachhead, and the setup with the feet holes, with Forrest playing up there, it's making it impossible.
Well, the thing about this bomb site is that Forrest really wants to get his elbows out on the top floor, because if the top floor is forfeited, that also means that his anchors need to forfeit the site as well, because it can be vertical from above, and Ben just got the sledge in hand. So SSG know that they need to hold on to that top floor for a little bit longer to keep the site a safe haven.
Because so few players are left alive in the server, it does open up a window if a G2 player can get inside the site or get somewhere and find an opening, find a kill, then G2 could really flip the switch in this game. Okay, a change of hands for that diffuser as Doki's now picked it up. Where's Virtue going? Is he going in through dirt? He is. Oh. And Benja has found the opening that we were talking on about. That's 3 kills on the round.
I'm liking this from G2. Take the path of least resistance. Don't clear Forest, because like you pointed out, his setup on the top floor is going to be very hard to maneuver through. A second for the hands of Doki does take down 4 players now of SSG, leaving Forest in the 1 versus 3. Red Pings go onto the plant, and they have plenty of info down in the bottom square. And now Doki and Benja Master have to do it all in the 1-on-2.
Benja's already found 3. Let's see if the Dane can defend on home turf. Forrest jumping down a square, and there's Benja to cover. That's what G2 know and love doing.
Good stuff there, and composure off the back of the tactical timeout from G2 will close them out a second round against SSG. Really nice mid-round adaptation, realizing that they didn't want to clear the top floor any longer, even though they had the sledge in hand, because they found an opening inside of that bottom square to push themselves into the bomb site. Taking the path of least resistance, I think really good calling from the IGL of Alamau, who died early, but can, of course, call from the grave for his team.
1 second before he killed that he could be that. That was crazy. That was crazy. That was actually insane.
That's what I think every time I watch G2. Wow. SSG have now lost 2 rounds in a row, and G2 are on track to tie up this half. I think that would be a massive win for them. If SSG get this round and close it with a 4-2, I'd say that's still a great half for SSG. But if G2 make 3 in a row here, they go into the second half with momentum on their side. SSG, I mean, surely will be taking a tactical timeout shortly thereafter, if that happens. But yeah, there's no doubt G2, I think they've mustered a bit of confidence after turning that last round on its head.
Yeah, I would absolutely think so. G2 are certainly starting to find their mojo here in this series. For SSG, they are looking to go back to the Spaceman bomb site, to which they found some success in the past, and looking to repeat what they were able to do previously. This time, they have once again brought along the Yokais of Fault, but they're going to use it to aid the roam instead. Fault's getting one early inside of lobby is going to enable his teammates of Merc and whoever else is left on that ground floor roam to know exactly where is safe and where they can retake and where they can play and fall off.
I like that G2 are changing their strategy as well. Like previously, when they attacked this bomb site, they went for that Montaigne. And we haven't seen much from the Monty either time that Alamau has picked it. Changing their strategy quite a bit. Twitch this time looking for some util, not finding very much. Will likely be scouting for yokai drones in the late round. They could be quite difficult to find though.
This is a tough one for G2 to pick apart. I'm not sure if they realize just how much info SSG have got on this roam. A gaping hole in the wall of kitchen for Benjamaster as he tries to go for the bait and switch over at the double door, but covered by J90. Trying to use the footsie holes against the defenders is Alamau on the other side, with the DMR in hand to try and take down the roamers in the ground floor, but they still look pretty comfortable in open area.
Yeah, SSG have been footsie hole fiends this game so far. Trying to think how many kills they found from those angles. And you can see that G2 are really struggling to figure out how to get themselves control of kitchen and open area. Hot and Cold has plenty of Azami barriers to play behind. He's starting to feel a little bit of pressure now as G2 are marching on in. There's a player deep inside of kitchen, but J90 is there and ready to cover. Pressure from behind once again, but Merc comes up to support. Virtue finally finds one, but Blur's been down on the ground. It's all up to the Aussie now on Hibana. Against 4 players, a flash goes out, but doesn't have much of an effect. He might be able to go for the res here. I think he feels the need to pressure for the kill first. He's taken down so low. And he still cannot confirm this kill. There it is from Hot and Cold with the deagle. This man certainly is cold. And that's a great half there for SSG.
Such a fantastic and innovative Azami hold going down in the ground floor. They're inside of open area, really enabled Hot and Cold to absolutely run circles around G2, really. He was peeking on either side of the Kiba barrier. G2 couldn't quite find their way through the maze that was kitchen as they were surrounded by all the Kiba barriers, thinking, what on earth is going on down here? Someone's re-architected the ground floor, and they couldn't quite make their way through, supported by J90, who was able to wrap around and support his teammate in Hot and Cold. Such a fantastic setup. That was, I think, a little ill-advised for a push by G2. I think they had to take a little bit more time to actually get a better idea of what they were walking themselves into, and SSG play a great defense.
Yeah, well, now they're going to have to muster through a couple of attacks here as we switch the halves. Still, 4-2 defense. Looks pretty good for SSG, especially considering that G2 have already taken their tactical timeout, while SSG have theirs in the pocket if a comeback starts to creep its way on for G2. One thing that keeps going wrong, though, and Alamau said it in their tactical timeout, these opening picks. 5 of the 6 rounds we've played so far, Mandy, it's been SSG finding the opening, and more often than not, they convert that to a round win. Now they've brought something very different on this attack. Amaru and Blitz. We're surely in for a treat here.
That's exactly right. It's also going to be aided by the Dokkaebi, who's going to call and reveal all the positions of the defenders, as it seems like a roam clear will be on the cards for SSG. Forrest is going to hop in through the printer window now to meet a defender on the other side.
And immediately, Benja says, hey, there's a Blitz. Hey, never mind. I've taken him down. And Hot and Cold's also lost his life in the sledge. Alamau down but not out as of yet. Does SSG try and pick up something? It was such an expensive push, losing 2 players, and all they got was the down. Where do they go from here?
Tough one now for SSG. No value out of that early game as Merc has been able to creep his way at least into Elevator for some map control. Still, though, the main point of contest is inside of this open area. I feel like we're seeing a bit of deja vu as the Kibo Gates patch up the angle that J90 has into the roam game. Merc with the shotgun in hand can at least try to put some pressure onto the players around the main stairs, but no one giving away their life.
Yeah, Merc is just waiting for it, but G2 seem aware. He's, I don't know, baiting out a sprint, no changing his mind. Okay, open area forfeited now for G2. They've got quite a significant numbers advantage. They've also got info on the plant in the late round from Doki on that Solus. And there's not a lot to work with here for SSG.
Alamau holding steadfast on the main stairs, tries to put a keeper barrier to prevent himself from being killed from the hatch, but dies in the process of doing so. J90 able to collect one back at least for SSG. With 1 minute and 10 on the clock, it seems pretty tough for them to be able to make their way in onto the bomb site. Even if they do so, the plant is going to be advised by the Solace of Doki and possibly be denied by the C4 of Blur. So it's going to be really tough for SSG to convert the late game here.
Okay, Benja just wasted his C4, but Virtue still has 3 gas canisters on top of, as you mentioned, Blur's C4. And not to mention, we've got Vulcan canisters, 1 burning away. Each one lasts for 20 seconds. For SSG, I really feel like this round hinges on Merc having a massive moment, dropping down. He's got Supernova and SMG-11. Fultz is forcing this plant down. And Merc drops to his immediate demise, though it took a few more bullets than perhaps Benja wanted. It's not all doom and gloom, though, as SSG have managed to get that plant down. And G2 have to 4 versus 2 retake. It could be late, but this hard breach charge in the pocket for J90 could well save the round for them.
Okay, how on earth have they just got the bomb down in the fire and the flames and the smoke? And not only that, J90 will chase the flank of Doki. Now, 3-on-2 situation is very winnable for SSG as they've played the objective.
But every gunfight here is critical, and Benja must step up for G2. He's been massive so far this game, but he can't land the shots needed. Blur just needs time. All he needs is time, but J90 might have the cover. I can't believe it. How do SSG win that round?
How did they thieve that round away from G2? They looked so poised to take it. There was no way, I thought, that that bomb was going down. No way, as the floor was lava in the bomb site, as the smoke canister went off, as Blur had a C4 in his hands, somehow J90 and Fultz get the bomb down? An impossible situation, and they pay the post line to perfection. J90 chasing the flanks, knowing that G2 are gonna go for that retake, and actually proactively taking those 1 versus 1s was perfect from SSG to close out the rounds.
That was just utterly phenomenally played by SSG. Despite the early picks that G2 managed to get, they bring it back, and we see it right here. 2v4, plant goes down, cover is perfect. J90 had a massive post plan.
Yeah, I mean,
they're fired up after that one. There's no doubt about it.
That is a massive round. That is a huge round for SSG. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if from here on out they're just absolutely feeling themselves in the confidence. That is such a great round from J90 in particular to have the game sense to know, okay, because we're down in the numbers advantage, we can't just sit there and hold an angle in the post plant. They need to be proactive in the post plant, and chasing those flanks as they come down is such a great call from him. Now they're going to mount yet another attack onto the basement, it seems like, as G2 wants a repeat, knowing that they just fell to the wayside in the late game.
All right, let's see how this drone game goes. I think J90 might have spotted Doki. Yeah, Doki somehow managed to get away with his life. He was going for a very risky, very ratty play, hiding underneath the desk and CEO. He's lucky, honestly, to only lose 50 HP out of that.
Merc, though, has made his way all the way into Tellers and Archives, already cutting off this rotation, and has actually made his way straight into the small box office. Wow, this is a really quick time set from Merc. Shotgun in hand, and info on the player behind the cubicle.
Oh, he's got this. Oh, he's been spotted, but he finds the kill anyway on a Benja. Alamau is able to find one, and the temptation from Merc to drop the hatch seems insurmountable. Still another player in kitchen, however. It's Alamau caught between 2 players. The Deagle in hand. Oh, he gets Fultz. The trade comes through thick and fast for Forrest, but Honestly, G2 have done a decent job of salvaging this.
That was so scary for Alamau. He popped up behind the kitchen counter, and there are 3 SSG players there to meet him on the other side. Now time to recompose for SSG. Mid-round, there's still some time to figure out exactly what they need to do. Do they have the opportunity here to play the objective? In my opinion, yes, they do. They are still 3 smoke babes on the side of Virtue, but that's kind of all they need to burn out. The C4 of Blur has already been gone. It's just about getting those smoke babes down, but it actually looks like they're going to go for a lobby side take instead.
Interesting. A lot of hard breach still available here for SSG. What they really lack is anything to clear the Vulcan canisters that Ben just placed down in that prep phase. But, man, I don't know about you, but if SSG can plant and cover in post-plant in a 2v4, surely they can do it in a 3v3.
Oh, do not cast a curse them like that in a 3-on-3. This is so tense here, Dev. And I think that for G2, they're going to try and find a lot more composure than they did in the last time, right? They are not going to let this plant go down lightly.
Early pop of the Vulcan canisters makes it awkward now for SSG, but there'll be a window of about 20 seconds at the end of the round for an opening. And Forrest, oh no, there's another Vulcan canister there. There's only going to be 8 seconds left on the clock by the time that subsides. So do you pivot? SSG, what's the plan? The smoke, the fire. Forrest is shut out. So how do they play it? It'll need to be desperate. There's no choice. You have to send it through the fire. But G2 is ready and waiting. Merc finds one. And J90 jumps in the fun. Merc for another. SSG have stolen another round, and they're on match points.
What a massive round from Merc as well, knowing that his teammate of Forrest was shut out, had to go for an aggressive play, taking down the remaining 3 defenders of G2, all situated around in the site, shotgun in hand, SMG-11 to his name to close out yet another one for SSG.
These guys must be so fired up after that.
It's actually massive, like, really. I'm so impressed by this SSG roster, the new one, right? We were speaking about this a little bit beforehand, but I think a big criticism of the previous iteration of SSG was that they kind of settled back into their old ways. SSG were always known for this slow, methodical play style. They take their time through the round to set it up one by one. But then, in this stage, you make a massive roster change. You bring along Merc, a really aggressive player, and IGL, someone at the front line of TSM who knows how to make things go. When it's go time, it's Merc that's there on the front line, and it's completely changed the identity of this team. Not only that, but it's supported by 2 players off the back of the Astralis roster as well, from Forrest and J90, both of whom know how to play a really fast-paced play style, which was the identity of that team through 2022. It's just completely changed the face of SSG.
Yeah, that's it. SSG knew things weren't working. They threw out almost their entire roster, and they cherry-picked some of the best of TSM and Astralis. And now this super team, well, we're starting to see it really may be super. G2 on the cusp of getting 7-2'd by SSG. This is not what they expected. Not at all.
Doki looking to deny the entry inside of E-Box here, goes for a peek, but not able to connect the shots. Merc taking down a little bit, but not too much to his health. Faults, though, is able to get early pressure down in the basement, meaning that there can be no one that is looking for a flank onto the bottom of square stairs. The moment that I say that, of course, Ben just starts to get aggressive. Doki can take down the Monty, playing circles with him, thankfully traded out by Faults.
This is a strange round. The desperation from G2 is palpable in the way that they were looking for those picks, in the way that Doki got so aggressive just to find something. Benja as well, like he was juggling 2-3 things. He was tossing up a C4 to try and kill a player up above him at top square. He was worried about faults in blue stairs. He's worried about killing the Monty, worried about denying the Selmas. There's so much to think about here for G2.
Okay, so, well, problem here for SSG is that the diffuser is in a really tough spot. So what SSG have decided to do is actually to try and take the top floor instead. Now, that hasn't quite worked out because J90 has just been taken down by a C4. But Hot and Cold and Merc can double down to try and gain this map control.
Oh, this could be the way back in it for G2. Benja does not want to lose this game, that's for damn sure. He's been top fragging for most of this match. But right now, he's already found 2 in the round. Merc is so low and looking to go on the hunt for the Dane, who's at the moment in bot square, retaking up above. Doesn't quite see Hot and Cold, but his position revealed. He finds Merc anyway. 3 kills, why not 4? Hot and Cold has a tumultuous task ahead of him, and with an angle like this from Benja, I don't think Hot and Cold's gonna find much. He does find the first one. 3 more to go. May as well give it a crack. Virtue will put that to rest. G2 finally stemmed the bleeding after losing 3 rounds in a row. They find their first.
Big round there from Benja. Like you said, this is sort of the name of the game of entry picks, isn't it? It seems like any team that gets the first pick of the round seems to be able to convert it. I could be completely wrong about that, and your match tracker would tell me otherwise.
It's kind of right.
It's kind of right.
Statistically.
Close enough. Big round there from Benja, really able to make his way in through the early round, first denying the pick and then also preventing the rest of the map control from going in the way of SSG. There was no lurk from main stairs because he shut that down. There was no bottom square pressure because he shut that down too. It just felt like he was so proactive throughout the entire round, start to end.
Yeah. G2 once again gonna retry this basement.
What on earth is this?
It's beautiful, isn't it? They really do not want SSG to be able to plant. And yet SSG, even when they couldn't plant, last time they attacked this site, they still overwhelmed the bomb site and won the round. So, when people go and retry a bomb site that they've already lost, we call that the repeat. What about when it's for the 3rd time? We call that the three-peat. Well, G2 on the 3-peat right now, desperately staving off another match point. They go back to the basement, which has been the 7th level of hell for them so far this game.
Oh, that's a good one from you. I don't mind that. Anyway, room clear for SSG. They are holding on to open area is what G2 are doing once again. Very much a repeat of the strategy that we saw previously from them. SSG have got a few tools to try and assist in this room clear. They've got the fast pace of Merc here on the Amaru, who I imagine is going to get into that top floor nice and quick. Not only that, but they've got the vertical of Hotton to try and cut off any roaming defenders from falling off, and also False. You can cut it down with the logic bomb. So I think they've got sort of the tools that they need to try and crack open this room on the ground floor, but it's going to be tough with the Solus alive.
Yeah, and Benja's also on that roam. I think he's still in open area, and he's been the best fragger in the game so far. As we've said, 1.5x on the Vector. You don't want to be messing with that. But SSG have been very diligent. They're taking from top down. They're not looking to force any gunfights. They're playing this very cautiously.
I think this is fair enough, really. They've just taken the real estate of the map that has been given to them by G2 so far. There have been no engagements, no contest. SSG are just trying to see if they can at least create some kind of pinch, if they can at least surround the defense that G2 have gotten. But it actually seems like all of the roamers have fallen back to the safety of the bomb site. They're happy with the time that they've wasted, and they're just going to wait for SSG to make their move.
Interesting. Interesting that SSG still haven't droned out open area clear. So much more free real estate they could gain if they did so. Merc is just watching for this flank, but I mean, no one's going to be pushing up that, not yet. Doki's just waiting. G2 don't feel a lot of pressure. They don't have to move right now. If anything, Mandy, I'm a bit worried for SSG. We know how much plant denial is available for G2. SSG need to get to work.
This is some big problem solving here for SSG. Do they take the risk of going for a front take and doing something a bit crazy? Merc taking down Doki, looking to get aggressive on the main stairs, might open things up as he makes his way even further down. Looks to progress on straight into the bomb side.
Oh, he's just gone straight on in there. Virtue does get him eventually, but SSG find everything they could want and more. In a flash, America takes the crown. And the SI champions have been toppled. G2 go down 7-3. SSG can barely believe it. And we'll be back after this break to break it all down.
I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Cause I got problems on problems on problems on problems on problems on problems I solve them. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling. Phone and progression, it's all that I wanted. The phone and affection, I summon and dub it. Why you be all on my line about nothing? Why won't you go get you $1 or something? Don't hang with a who line for nothing. I see that we different, you riding, I double. I don't do discussions on bragging about hundreds. Don't go to your places, I know that they sunken. Don't call me your brother, I barely could trust it. I talked to a shorty, she bagging the bugging. And I'ma need all of my dollars on corporate, so hand me the money, I divvy the pie. I'ma give all of my people a portion to build them a fortune. I'm flipping the ride. I can't be mixy when iffy the vibe. And 40 on 50 is really the time. Why are you all on my phone like you want me? Like you wasn't pushing the kid to the side. I run through the money, the pressure be calling. Left on my blessings, I feel like I'm falling. The birdie is back, tell me I'm garbage. I'm going through something, that's why I ain't calling.
Welcome back, everybody, and we're going to talk a little bit about G2 and more specifically SSG. Now, the way the game's played at the minute, it's about finding opportunities. Now, if we could just pause it here for just a second, please. One thing that I will say is SSG here against G2 have found an excellent opportunity. Now, if we look at the positioning of G2, Doki here is accountable for main stairs. Blur here is being accountable for garage. Benja is accountable for the basement drop from Merc, and Virtue is accountable for the breach. Now, SSG, they found themselves an opportunity in terms of getting the plant down. Merc dropped the hatch and tried to create a distraction, and J9O and Fultz, all the way over there, they found Virtue lacking in terms of the plant denial. Now, this is all you need in Rainbow Six Siege at times to find a round out of absolute thin air. Create a distraction on one side, that's Merc over here, and then get the plant down on the other and play out the post plant. So if we could play the clip from here on out, you're gonna see Merc, he drops, he falls to his death from Benja. But G2 are completely unaware. Virtue, who's got the accountability for making sure that he knows A, if the plant is happening, and B, denying that when that happens, has absolutely no basically control or responsibility over that. And as you can see from the top-down observer, they're checking if the flanks are coming in, because G2, they absolutely hit panic stations here, and they don't know what to do. They were not expecting this plant. They thought they had the situation under control, and then they have to just try and hard retake the bomb. There's only 17 seconds left, and you see them be unsuccessful. Now, this is just SSG. They lost the round strategically, but they realized they had an opportunity. Get the plant down, because that switches it all the way back to our favor, and then play out the post plant. You see them win it. SSG win the round, and it's one of the big reasons why they won this game, in my opinion. Now, that telestrator is done, so I'm going to throw this back over to Veracity on the desk with an interview with Forrest.
Thank you very much for that. Fresh, as you did mention, I'm joined here by Forrest. Now, Forrest, honestly speaking, does the fact whatsoever that this is the G2, the SI champs, kind of play on your mind at all whatsoever when facing off against them?
No.
Not at all. How about for the rest of your teammates? Was there any kind of hesitancy facing them?
No, I already have a couple more champs, you know.
Okay, all right. Okay, you got some champs of your own as well.
Sympathy.
Now, do you feel like beating G2 has kind of given yourself and your team a little bit of a confidence boost heading into the rest of the games that you've got coming up?
It's definitely a confidence boost and like showing that we can like execute a game plan, like win it. You know, people think like we play a certain style, we don't. We kind of play according to the team, so it's like, you know, we execute today and, you know, a good result.
Okay, and you've also got Mango and Mango as your analyst and also Call Out as your coach, joining you from Astralis as well. Do you feel like the team chemistry that you kind of shared there has transitioned over into Space Station Gaming as well?
I think we're having our own identity right now, kind of like a development of that, or the Astralis identity, so it's more so like
a little bit of
our own version of who we want to be.
Okay, and how have the rest of the team been with kind of being accepting of these changes? Any fresh ideas that might be coming their way as well?
Just learning how to take an L and take it on the chin and, you know, learn from failure. Just really simple as that. Okay, and how about for what's next for you and the team? What's the game plan? I think dinner, then prep. Dinner, then prep. So scrims-wise, in preparation for your upcoming games, what does that look like? Talk us through your practice schedule. We usually just meditate, the workout, and eat lunch, then like scrim like any of the European teams here or teams here at the event. And then we kind of just do more prep after that and such, and you know, we just crank hard. Simple as that.
Crank hard, and it's been paying off for you as well. You confident that you can keep up this momentum that we've seen from you?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's what we're all about here. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you as well.
Well, they've only gone and done it, haven't they?
Yeah.
Well, I know we spoke a little bit earlier on that, you know, it's a bit up and down for them. We're not sure what playstyle to expect from them. And like you mentioned, it's a bit of a hybrid right now.
Absolutely. And it was that up. They've handed Fabian his first ever loss to North America. Like, incredible stuff from SSG. I thought they were excellent today. Genuinely very good.
Yeah, it's time to call the newspapers with that stat in the end. I like the illustration that you did, and it definitely did show how well SSG read such situations. They started off with these really impressive first few rounds. There were really impressive solo performances on the team as well. Hot and Cold had a really great start of that matchup. Later on, it was Merc on those solo missions as well, continuously going down staircases with the supernova shotgun, just getting that ground in for himself, forcing this map control into the hands of SSG. But indeed, also understanding situations that G2 are bringing out and being able to read into that so well, while seeming so cool, calm, and collective.
That's such a good point. The reading into G2 is exactly what SSG did today in terms of they understood the pathing that Doki was going to take on every single attack. They knew where he was going to be. They knew where G2 was going to be, that Blair would be on the lobby rappel, that Alamau and Doki would be on the Sierra rappel. They understood it, they abused it, and they absolutely took advantage of G2, who realistically hadn't changed much on this map since they played at SI, and SSG used that to their advantage today.
Yeah, and G2 also played it during EUL, so there is so much information on how they do play this map. And if you talk about SSG, I like their mindset as well. When we saw it in the interview, they said they were meditating, they were cool, they were calm, they didn't really bother, you know, having to go against the current reigning world champions. And I feel like having that type of mindset is going to help you so much in your games. You won't get those nerves, like, oh, we're playing a really difficult opponent today. You know, you actually have the feeling that you can beat them.
Now, for the side of G2, they had an incredibly slow start, especially when it came to their attacking side. Fresh, I can see you smirking there.
Just because when I spoke to G2 yesterday in the lobby of the hotel, they said, no, it's fine. We'll lose our games, then we'll get to the best of 3 stage and we'll win everything. So maybe it's just on plan. I think for G2, there's always going to be that hiatus of being the reigning world champions. You have that big target on your back. Everybody's VOD reviewed you. Everybody knows that you're setting the meta, and everybody wants to beat you. And you know, I think they've got to take a look at themselves. Like I said, their pathings were, you know, the way they entered their building was abused today, and they've seemingly not changed too much up, and that could be across the tournament a real problem for them.
Now I'm going to put you both on the spot once again, like I love to do so. For the side of Spacestation Gaming, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, the fact that they have been clawing their way to try and getting back to that former glory that they had in 2020. From what you've seen in the previous game, are there glimmers of hope for the two of you?
I think, yeah, when it comes to reading your opponent in the way they did, yes. I mean, there will be days where you have more games and they'll be faster paced after one another, so it'll be more difficult on the support stuff. But the way they understood situations in this game really shows some good things for me.
The thing with SSG is we know they can hit the heights of up here, but we also know they can hit the lows. So I think a test will come when they're not playing well, when they've not seen the team on the map, how they, you know, whether they succumb to that or whether they get over that. And I think that will be the big test.
Yeah, what if Merc can't get these solo missions going on? Like, he sneaks through admin. When our team's going to know that and they're going to stop him? And how will SG adapt to that then? That's what a good separates a good team from a really good team, if you can adapt on that fly.
I know we've still got plenty of questions over here on the desk for many of our teams, but we're down to our final best of one, which will be coming up very shortly.